Aircraft carriers are one of the biggest and most deadly weapons of war in any country's arsenal. They're pretty much a floating military base, able to sit off the coast of a rival nation and unleash an aerial assault of bombers, jet fighters, and transport helicopters to deploy personnel and decimate the enemy's defenses. Having a number of these titanic leviathans in your arsenal is the ultimate symbol of naval prestige and power. So which ones strike fear into the hearts of military powers around the world? Number 5. Admiral Kuznetsov, Russia. The Admiral Kuznetsov was first commissioned in 1991, and unlike its American counterpart, chooses raw firepower over excessive size. Slingshot-style catapult launchers are notably absent from the flight deck, hinting at a preference for sheer air superiority in lieu of long-range bomber capabilities. Instead, there's a ski jump on the bow. Aircraft about to take off accelerate towards the ramp with afterburners on to achieve the required speed to get the extra bit of lift generated by the sloped surface, leaving the deck at a higher angle than other aircraft carriers. Propulsion comes by way of conventional oil-fired boilers and needing frequent visits to support vessels to refuel. The thick, oily matsuit is essentially unrefined diesel and gives the ship its characteristic trail of black smoke. The intended purpose of the Admiral Kuznetsov is to both provide air support but at the same time defend the other strategic missile-carrying submarines and gunships part of the Armada. The ship can hold 40 Su-33 specialist jet fighters designed almost exclusively for use on this specific aircraft carrier, based off the successful Su-27. Various iterations of the Ka-27 helicopter are also present, able to fill in where needed: anti-submarine warfare, search and rescue missions, and personnel transport. It's more of a heavy aviation cruiser, having tools in its arsenal to be both an offensive weapon in its own right. A battery of 12 long-range surface-to-surface anti-ship P-700 Granite cruise missiles are more than enough of a worry to keep enemy ships at bay. In 2018, it was damaged when a dry dock sank, sending a 70-ton crane crashing into the deck, creating a 200-square-foot hole. Number 4. Liaoning, China. The Liaoning was born after the fall of the Soviet Union, when China bought the unfinished hull of the sister ship to the Admiral Kuznetsov and towed it all the way back from the Ukraine. From there, the Chinese Navy set about fitting out their aircraft carrier with all new modern equipment before finally commissioning the vessel in 2012. It's the country's only aircraft carrier, and although similar in appearance, offers arguably more strike power when compared to its Russian counterpart. Although it pales in comparison to Western aircraft carriers, the Liaoning has ironed out kinks and problems associated with the operation of the Admiral Kuznetsov. There have been extensive modifications to the hull, as well as upgrades to the radar assembly and ship's electrical systems. The workload to totally revamp the aging hulk was the equivalent of building 10 brand new destroyer-class ships. The hull was completely sandblasted and stripped back before being sprayed with red anti-corrosion primer. Active electronically scanning arrays and Sea Eagle radar have been added to the command bridge. It can hold a total of 36 aircraft consisting of 24 Shiyang J-15 air superiority jet fighters, 6 Chang'e Z-18F anti-submarine helicopters, 4 Z-18J airborne early warning helicopters, and 2 Harbin Z-9C rescue helicopters. This balanced approach between combat and support craft ties in well with the dual role of the Liaoning to provide offensive support as well as ferry weapons of war into the field of battle. The Liaoning retains the same Soviet missile system, with the addition of Type 1130 CIWS and HQ-10 systems with the anti-ship missile tubes removed to free up internal space for hangar and storage use. Number 3. Queen Elizabeth-class, UK. Though not the largest aircraft carrier in existence, the Queen Elizabeth-class is the largest in the United Kingdom Armed Forces and third largest warship in the world, after the U.S. Ford-class carrier and Japan's Yamato-class battleship. There are 2 sister ships, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, commissioned in 2017, and the HMS Prince of Wales, commissioned in 2020. The pair are highly flexible, able to be deployed to tackle high-intensity conflicts as well as providing humanitarian aid and disaster relief. Due to backlash from the public regarding nuclear-powered battleships, the QE class features an integrated electric propulsion system based on a pair of Rolls-Royce 70-megawatt turbines and 4 diesel engines totaling 40 megawatts. The QE-class are a drastic improvement upon the previous Invincible-class light aircraft carriers with more devastating strike capability. Unlike the slightly smaller Russian Admiral Kuznetsov and the Chinese Liaoning, which predominantly operate air superiority fighters, the QE-class favors carrying stealthy multi-role fighters. All up, the QE can hold 40 fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. The F-35B is a short takeoff, vertical landing fighter that are equally up to the task of air-to-air defense against other jet fighters, attacking key strategic ground targets, or performing reconnaissance missions. A healthy mix of CH-47 Chinooks, Merlin, and Lynx Wildcat helicopters covers all bases from utility and troop carrying all the way up to anti-submarine and light warfare. Defensive systems are limited to 30mm phalanx naval guns to counter threats from light craft, with the QE class instead relying on its long-range jet fighters to keep it out of harm's way. Number 2. Nimitz-class USA. Only 10 Nimitz-class were ever built, despite being manufactured in the 1970s, is still one of the largest warships to ever see service. The Nimitz is nuclear-powered, able to travel out to sea over an almost indefinite and infinite range for years at a time, courtesy to 2 Westinghouse AW4 reactors feeding quad steam turbines that pump out 260,000 horsepower, pushing the Nimitz to a speed of over 30 knots. It carries over 80 fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. It boasts a wide range of tools at its disposal, from F-18 Super Hornet jet fighters for air-to-air engagements, F-18C bombers for ground attack, EA-18G Growler electronic disruption warfare aircraft, E-2D Advanced Hawkeye early warning and surveillance unmanned drones, transport helicopters, and anti-submarine depth chargers. At a pinch, the deck can hold up to 130 F-18 Hornets at max capacity. The Nimitz houses 3,200 sailors and up to 2,480 pilots, Air Force staff, and ground crew. The carrier is defended against anti-ship cruise missiles via an automated defense system that can blast the ordnance out of the sky before they even get close. The Nimitz is one of the most recognizable aircraft carriers around the world, as it saw service during the long but ultimately uneventful Cold War between the Soviet Union and the U.S. U.S. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz earned his namesake by proving his capability as a brilliant strategist and commander in the Central Pacific during World War II. A man who controlled Allied air, sea, and land forces with such a pivotal role was the most appropriate choice to name such a feared weapon of war after. Number 1. The Gerald R Ford class, USA. The Gerald R Ford class aircraft carrier is undoubtedly the world's biggest aircraft carrier, so large that it's in a class all its own. Currently, there's only one in existence, with another 4 vessels being commissioned and fully operational by 2020. It's the successor to the highly successful Nimitz class and is looking to be a mainstay and crown jewel in the U.S. naval forces for a large portion of the 21st century. The hull design is similar to the Nimitz class, though the Ford class has a smaller and stealthier island designed to be less detectable on radar. It has a massive 260-foot wide flight deck and is capable of a full load displacement of 100,000 tons, not dissimilar to the Nimitz class, but using more efficient and now fully automated systems. Aircraft capacities comprises up to 90 assorted fixed-wing and support aircraft, including the F-35 Joint Strike Jet Fighters and F-A-18 Super Hornets. However, a modern magnetic propulsion system will enable fixed-wing aircraft to launch more effectively and therefore be deployed in much shorter time frame to meet the enemy on the battlefield. The Ford is defended by a multi-layered defense system, enabling it to operate within effective striking range of the enemy while evading their own offensive fire. Twin evolved Sea Sparrow launchers hold a payload of 16 missiles each, able to scuttle high-speed anti-ship missiles. 2 Ram launchers packing 21 rolling airframe missiles each are used against air-to-sea cruise missiles at close range. Boarding vessels are obliterated courtesy of the 4 20mm Phalanx last defense weapon systems spread around the hull.